What is a completely random fact? When a Viking received a gut wound, they would be fed strong onion soup. After some time, someone would smell the wounds elsewhere on their body. If they smelled like onions, there was damage to the intestines, and no chance of saving them. That is pretty ingenious tbh. It's safe and effective. Also, their understanding of human anatomy was pretty decent too. Penguins have an organ above their eye that converts salt water into fresh water. Ladies and gentlemen, we have solved the freshwater crisis. Squid brains are donut shaped, and their esophagus runs through it. If a squid eats something too big, it can get brain damage. I would be a real dumb squid. When roosters make their sound, their ears close up, so that they won't become deaf. It's illegal to own just one guinea pig in Switzerland, because they get lonely. I like this. Gary Numan is 13 days older than Gary Oldman. Muppets singing Bohemian Rhapsody is the first ever video on YouTube with 1080p quality. This is important, and I hope my kids will read about it in textbooks. In the UK, a lot of very old streets are named after the professions of the old inhabitants. For instance, Baker Street. The brothels were often located on Groppercant Lane, many of which still exist under Grope Lane, like in Bristol, or Great Lane, like in York. Edited out the redundant "the" before the "e". Other fact relevant to your Reddit: "ye" in old time writing was spelled with a symbol similar to a Y, called thon, which was pronounced th. So most often the pronunciation was the same as today. 20% of US power outages are caused by squirrels. The Ice Age was also started by a squirrel. Goddamn scrat. Ants have a terminal velocity of 1.778 meters per second. This means they can fall from any height and not harm themselves. No fall damage, that's so unfair. At one point in time, all the details of the Manhattan Project were in 3 safes, each locked with the code 27, 18, 28. Mathematicians would of course recognize these numbers as the Euler number, 2.71828, a number that has wide importance in calculus. Physicist Richard Feynman was able to crack into these safes after snooping around the secretary's desk and finding the number pi, 3.14159. After thinking, why would a secretary need to know the value of pi? He deduced it was probably a code, so he tried it on the safes. After they didn't work, he tried other numbers that mathematicians and physicists would use, and sure enough, it worked. After he got into the safes, he thought to pull a prank on the director by leaving little notes in the safe to scare the director into thinking that a spy had gotten in. Just adding some more fun facts about this: he needed to get in because he had a report due and the library was closed. That office was the only other place the files he needed were stored. He had a hobby of cracking safes around Los Alamos. One corporal or something had a $25,000 safe installed in his office, but the installers had a hell of a time getting up the stairs, and that asshole never bothered to change the original code it came with. Surely you're joking. Mr. Feynman is amazing and hilarious. Highly recommend. The unicorn is the national animal of Scotland. In Scottish, can confirm. Each pineapple takes 1.5-3 years to grow. They really grow out of each other too. I thought that was just a wallpaper pattern until I went to Hawaii and visited a plantation. You can grow a new one out of the top of one you're eating if you keep enough of it intact. Also, it's one of only 2 members of the bromeliad family that are edible. The other is not commercially viable for crops. Crows hold grudges. Once they identified the suspect in question, they would threaten them by diving down and swarming the person that they had felt threatened by years before. I've heard really cool things about crows. One crow that was harassed by a specific person will convince lots of crows to attack that same person if they are seen later. The oldest your mom joke was discovered on a 3,500-year-old Babylonian tablet. Thousand birth jiva hast suckathon mine cock and balls. 50% of the world's pigs live in China. A lot of flatworm species are hermaphroditic, meaning they have both male and female parts. When 2 of them meet up to mate, neither one of them wants to be the one to get creamed in, So they do a little thing called penis fencing, where they go at each other with their dicks out and try to stab the other one with it deep enough to inject sperm. And female hyenas have pseudo penises, which are larger than a male's authentic penis. Oh yay, female hyenas' clitorises are roughly 8 inches long usually. I saw this on Nat Geo. The tallest building in the state of Wyoming is a college dorm. A British man changed his name to Tim Price, so it would be difficult for telemarketers to pronounce it. The thigh bone of human is stronger than concrete. But only in one direction. Ike. The world's largest purchaser of explosives is the US government. The world's second largest purchaser of explosives is Disney. So that's how Disney controls all the other companies. The world's longest hiccup was about 8 years. Just think how hard it would be to get in a relationship. I'm sitting here imagining some guy making a hiccup sound, but the sound never stops, and he's just spending 8 years screeching at everyone. Eyeballs don't bounce. How have you acquired this information? If you open your eyes in a pitch black room, the color you'll see is called Degengrau. Edit. Degengrau is a German term, which literally means own gray or intrinsic gray. Your fact is full of #16161D. If you are 25 years old, apx 1/3 of the world's population who were alive when you were born have since died. If you are older than 30, you are older than half the people currently living. Incubators for premature babies were a sideshow attraction for many decades. They were called infantoriums. The word alone is, so 19th century one became a barber/surgeon. It snows diamonds on Uranus. Well, it snowed diamonds on my ex's anus as well, but she still wasn't happy. The last living member of a species is called an endling. For some reason that's super sad. Twink is a 68% air, therefore making it totally possible to fit 2 Twinkies into the space taken up by only one. The ancestors of modern horses evolved in the Americas, then migrated to Asia, and died out in the Americas due to an unsuitable climate. Thousands of years later, escaped Spanish colonial horses would repopulate their American plains with modern horses, who could now enjoy the perfect environment that their ancestors first evolved in all those years ago. Edit. I highly recommend this PBSians video, and all of their videos, if you want to learn more. http://yaotu.be/kzotvxvv0tour. There are no cats in the Bible. A landlocked country is one that is entirely surrounded by land, or only has borders with closed seas, and therefore no access to international waters. A doubly landlocked country is one that is surrounded on all sides by landlocked countries, meaning it's essentially 2 steps away from international waters. There are 2 such countries currently in the world, Liechtenstein and Uzbekistan. Once upon a time, a large number of countries in Europe used the same melody for their national anthems, but they differed in lyrics and arrangement. Today, only 2 still use that melody, Liechtenstein and Great Britain. Yep, God save the Queen. Note that even the USA even reproposed its melody for My Country 'Tis of Thee, which while never their national anthem, is definitely in the patriotism category. Something I found out very recently, if you're doing intensive workouts, for losing weight or otherwise, your body produces a large amount of creatinine for the new muscle and proteins. At the same time, if your kidneys start failing, they cannot filter out stuff as efficiently. Creatinine is one substance that the doctors look at while testing you for kidney disease. I was working on losing weight and had some health issues, so I went to the doctor. They told me immediately that my kidneys are failing and I probably will need emergency care. A week of tests and a lot of payments later, I didn't have any kidney issues. It turns out that the creatinine levels were high just because of my intense workout plan. So if you are diagnosed for kidney failure, make sure to do an ultrasound first. TL. Doctor, if you're doing heavy workouts, you may be misdiagnosed for kidney failure. Creatinine is the waste that's produced by a breakdown of the muscle enzyme creatine, creatine kinase or CK, which is found in your heart, skeletal muscles and the brain. While elevated levels of creatinine could mean kidney failure, a physician should be asking if you have done any strenuous workouts recently, since this can/will raise those levels. Also, they should take blood and check your CK levels. Elevated CK levels can occur from strenuous workouts, while highly elevated CK levels point more toward muscle disorders, muscular dystrophy, or rhabdomyolysis, the breakdown of muscles. This has actually happened to some patients taking Cresta. Usually, if you have an elevated level, they will retest you a week later, in which the levels will be closer to normal if the initial results were due to a strenuous workout. Obama used to smoke, but he promised Michelle, if he won the presidency he would quit. The most dangerous snake in the world is the inland tapir, which has a venom lethal enough to kill 150,000 rats in one bite's worth. To put that in perspective, that's one snake bite being enough to kill 30 men the size of Shaq. Despite this, most zookeepers consider it a very easy animal to handle due to its placid nature. I could, but I just don't want to. This snake. The nut that holds the blades of a helicopter together is called the Jesus nut. Not necessarily the blades, but the main rotor that the blades connect to. Ants were actually one of the first species to develop agriculture in the form of growing different types of fungus. Ants are insane, man. The longest wedding veil in history was the same length as 63.5 football fields. That's about 5.8 kilometers for our non-American friends, assuming the football fields measure excludes the end zones. Edit. Someone linked the actual Guinness page. It's apparently just under 7 kilometers. Edit 2. If you convert the football fields to metric including the end zones, it comes out to 6,900 meters. Which is the correct measurement, so the football field's measure is technically accurate, just a little obtuse. Elephants masturbate by slapping their dicks against their chest until they come. Edit. Thanks for the silver, you kind stranger. Thanks, I guess. Barack Obama was the first president to own a BlackBerry. And the first American president to be a BlackBerry. Its nose metal on Venus. The most effective hunter is the dragonfly. 95% success rate. This is because its optic nerve connects directly to its wings. Sounds from far away seem louder when it's going to rain. This is because the water in the air conducts sound. WD-40 stands for Water Displacement Formula number 40. And the company never patented it to prevent competitors from copying the formula. A sea lion once saved a man. There are no scientifically accepted names for the sun or the moon. The International Astronomical Union simply refers to them as the sun and the moon, not sol and lunar, as you may have heard. Edit. Corrected. International. Sol and lunar are their Roman names. Cannibalism isn't illegal. What is illegal is how someone obtains the body. People can put in their will that they would like to be eaten alive or consumed after death, with the legal name of the person eating them, and by law the government cannot stop you. A coin toss is not a 50-50 chance. There is a 0.000016% chance that it lands sideways. And the two faces have slightly different odds. The face up at the start has about 1% higher chance than for a normal flip where you keep it in the same orientation that it landed in. The variability in coin flips are mainly due to not being able to control how hard you flip it. This is known because there is a robot that can flip a coin with a predictable result. The original Mr. Potato Head toy did not come with what we now consider the body. It was a set of parts with pins that children could stab into real potatoes. Cats spend 3/4 of the day asleep, and the rest of it making sure I can't sleep. A second is called a second because it is the second division of the hour by 60, the first division being a minute. Horses are unable to vomit, which means that if they are trying to throw up, their stomach explodes. Shepherd's pie. Do you know that you eat like 8 spiders during your sleep? Myth. It was actually published by a research group studying how misinformation spreads. The average person eats 0 spiders per year. Spiders Giarg, who lives in a cave and eats over 10,000 each day, is an outlier and should not have been counted. When a pregnant woman gets injured, the fetus will send stem cells to the site of the injury to help repair it. Female kangaroos have 3 vaginas. I love how excited you are about this. Carrots being Good for your eyes was a disinformation campaign used to obscure the invention of radar. To this very day moms are still feeding their kids British war propaganda. The largest tire manufacturer in the world is not Firestone, or Goodyear or Michelin. The largest tire manufacturer in the world is actually Lego. I've heard of this one. They probably make more tires than all of the majors combined in one day. A planet that has the shape of a donut is scientifically possible. I see those donut earthers have gotten to you too. A golf ball has 352 dimples. I did research. The 2014 Titleist Pro V1 is a 3-piece solid core golf ball currently sporting a 352 dimple pattern. Other ones range from 300 to 500 depending on the type of ball. Honey badgers are named by Aquinas as the most fearless animal who ever existed. Link. Steady Ed. Hedrick invented the frisbee in the 1950s. When he died in 2002,